Rangers Journal now.
Good evening, Bears. You are watching the Rangers Journal this evening. We have an exciting show for you coming up tonight. Lots of breaking news and brand new stuff to talk about, which is a nice and very welcome change for everyone. I think in the Rangers fan base, we've plenty to get on. So please do get in the comments and talk along and chat along with us. We'll be asking for your opinions as we go. If you're tuned into us for the first time, then please do give us a like and a subscribe to the channel. It really helps the channel out. Helps more Bears find us, and more Bears, more banter is the phrase that I've just made up. So that's always for the better. So please do, as I say, if you're not subscribed, do join and become our 12th man. My third, fourth, or second, third, and fourth man this evening, I've got some great guys here we're going to chat about the main topics tonight, which, if you've already seen the title, we're going to be talking about the interview that Patrick Strewart gave over the club channel today, but also the breaking news that's come out later this afternoon about a potential club investment or even takeover, which we'll get into in a moment. So to talk about these things with me, first of all, I've got Dylan. Welcome, Dylan. Thanks for coming and joining us tonight.
Cheers, lads. Pleasure to be here.
And we've got the handsome man of the pod, Dino.
How you doing, mate? You all right?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks.
Good.
And we've got Scott. You're on mute, mate. Starting us off well.
Can't hear you, pal.
The universe is against you tonight, isn't it?
That part.
No, I'm afraid we're not getting anything from you, Scott, at the moment. Maybe have a wee check. We'll come back to you. We'll come back to you if you want to have a wee look at your settings. Just start shouting at some point, and we'll see if we hear you. Welcome to everyone in the comments. We've got a few guys coming through there. Gordon, good evening. RFC 72 coming in. I don't think I'll need to ask your opinion on the takeover. Jason is in there. We've got our own Gaffer Scotty in there as well. Arbeck Stands, welcome. Ian McCutcheon, welcome. Theo, always an early starter in the chat as well. So thank you, everyone, as I say, for tuning in this evening. So as I say, I'll start with you, Dylan. First things first. As I say, breaking this afternoon's news is the potential of an American consortium led by, and I'm probably going to murder this, but Parang Marathe, I'm going to go with. He is, I believe, the chairman of Leeds United and involved in the 49ers Enterprises, which is the entity that owns the 49ers, American football team. And recently, in the last year, I think it was, purchased Leeds United. Word is that apparently negotiations have been going on for months. There's a little bit of back and forth as to whether the negotiations are still kind of maybe not early days, it's been going on for months, but still kind of tentative, or if they're reaching a climax point. But there certainly seems to be chatter that it is something that's been ongoing. We've heard news that there's it's almost finished, and then I've heard other news that's saying that the consortium have looked at Rangers, but they are but one of a number of clubs that they are looking at potentially making further investments in. Just a little extra tidbit of interest as well. The 49ers also clients of Sportsology, who are the company that are doing the review of the club for our current CEO. So maybe some double duty getting done there. A review to help the club, and maybe a review to help the consortium decide on where they want to put their money. But I'll come to you, as I say, Dylan. First of all, just first and foremost, what was your thoughts when you first saw the news, and is this something that you'd be in favour of?
To be honest with you, mate, yeah, I think so. When it first broke, the phone was going. It was exciting. Dive into it a little bit, reading newspaper articles, and then reading Chris Jack's thing as well. His article on it as well. It's interesting reading, and it is exciting because for a long time I think that they've been putting investment in, it's been getting converted to shares, etc. But I think that it's hard to tell when you look at down south what the American owners do. So it's hard to gauge it if they're going to run it like that, or if they're going to run it like Ted Bowley, who's just going to buy in whoever he wants. That would be quite good. So it's I'm definitely for it, and I think it's exciting. I hope that it's no. I hope that it's not just like a false rumour. Like you said, they're looking at other clubs. I hope that's not true. And I think that if that was the case, with talks being ongoing for months, and also with the Sportsology team who are looking at our independent review, that obviously is a link there as well. So there must be more in it than just like a random WhatsApp room as we've had in the past. But I certainly exciting, mate.
Okay, what about yourself, Dino? What was your thoughts upon coming up to this news today?
I was sceptical to begin with because of the original source, but I think I speak for everybody in that. And then obviously the links and the traction that it's getting, and Chris Jack coming out and basically saying that it's legit. So that changes the perception on it and changes things, doesn't it? And it's potentially something that's going to reinvigorate the club as a whole, which I think is badly needed. And with a bleak season that we're being subjected to, maybe some positive aspects are going to come from that, is perhaps going to put a smile on some of our faces, if not all of our faces, that there's potentially going to be this revamp, which has obviously been needed for a considerable amount of time. So yeah, I'm all for it. I'm the eternal optimist. So things, as you say, you've got the link with the Sportsology, things like that, is just too many coincidences, I think, for it to not be legit. And as Dylan said there, the fact that it's been going on for a while, I think October was, quoted. So that's 5 months ago. So that's quite a long time to be, going over the stages of a takeover and things like that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to what happens next.
Absolutely. I put a quick poll into the YouTube chat there, and 93% of viewers at the moment have said that they're for the takeover. If I come to you, Scott, so far we've got 2 out of 4 on this as well. So overwhelming support. Are you in the same camp?
Can you hear me now?
We can indeed. Excellent stuff.
Listen, I think we need fresh investment, if it's owners or if it's just an investment. And I think the people behind the scenes at the club now have taken us as far as they can. I don't think they can take us any forward. I think what they've done in the past was been really good. They've helped us through the tough spells, but I think now we need to take another step forward. And so I think the right thing to do is get new people behind the scenes, get new people. And listen, if it's this company that comes in, I know they've got a few different sports franchises, they call it, they're involved with, and I'm a big NFL fan, so that would be good. I'd be quite happy with that. But and also if it's San Francisco, so if Metallica comes for as well, so I'm quite happy with that. But no, I have to say, I think it's good for the club in the whole. I think it's good as the fans. And I'm not going to come in and start spending money willy-nilly. You can't do that anyway, because obviously you've got a different fair play stuff and PSR and stuff like that. But just to see something else behind the scenes, taking the club forward as a whole, not just in the football side, but every side of the club, because we are a big club, and I know some people don't think that, but outside of Scotland, but we are a big club globally, and I think somebody from America can see that. Do you know what I mean? I think they could see that. They can see us going further. We just need fresh ideas over the board, because the last 5 to 10 years hasn't been great, to be honest.
I think you touch on that point there, and it's also been made in the comments by Graham Park Laurel. We need fresh ideas. And I put up a comment just a minute from Stewart with a couple of interesting thoughts as well. What I would say, just to I'll bring your comment back up, Stewart. I would love a Rangers monster truck. We had a Rangers, was it F3 or something like that? We had a Formula something.
Formula One or something like that. We did, aye.
Rangers vehicle at one point back in the day. So I would love to see a Rangers monster truck. That would be absolutely amazing. I would be all for that. But on a serious note, I do think, if I come back up over to yourself, Dylan, we're talking about the idea for fresh ideas, and I think that is badly needed at the club. And I think that the big thing that American investment would bring is fresh investment prospects. There's a lot of portions of America that are very fond of Scotland and sort of have claims of Scottish heritage and things like that, and they've sort of similarly to Ireland and Irish roots as well. So there's a Celtic love, I think, in a lot of spaces in America that could lead to potential investment opportunities, building more fan bases abroad, just bringing in new companies. Obviously, the 49ers are the 49er Enterprises as a £5 billion net worth vehicle, and they're going to have amazing connections. So like I say, it's fun to think about things like monster trucks, but on a serious note, they'll be looking at us going, right, this is a club that's regularly in Europe, that they will want to position to be regularly at the top of Europe in the Champions League, because that's for them where they're going to see their investments get their returns.
I know you're absolutely right, Doug. And I think when I read it, that was one of the main reasons why they were interested, is because we're regular in European football, whether it be Champions League or Europa League. So there's a potential there with the money side of things that's in the European football now. But also with that type of partnership, you're also getting access to how they're recruiting players and how their sports science is working. And I read something up. It was actually a couple of weeks ago that NFL teams are using this. One of the players' hammies kept going, just to go off on a wee tangent here. And what they've done is they took his blood work and they've done a 3D scan of his body. And it turned out that his right hamstring was 20% stronger than his left hamstring. So the left was trying to keep up with the right hammy and it kept going. And this company is now getting employed by NFL teams and everybody's. And now what he's doing is he's working his left hamstring to build that up, just isolate it and build that up to get to about 68%. And then that way he's not had any hamstring injuries this past season. So things like that are really, really interesting, especially the amount of injuries that Rangers have been having. But all the sponsorship and the commercial deals that will come, mate, is massive. Do you know what I mean? America, the size of sort of, you've seen Texas, for instance, right? I know they're more based in Texas, but San Francisco and California is a big state. It's probably bigger than, or just the same size as the UK, and that's a full country, so a couple of countries. So the commercial and the sponsorship deals, mate, over there that will come with this, if the takeover does happen, will be astronomical. And the funds that Rangers would receive, I'd imagine as well, doesn't just benefit us, it benefits us, our grandmains, you know what I mean? So I definitely think it's exciting all across the board.
Yeah, I think Dylan makes a great point there, about not just the business side of things, but access to American healthcare and experts over there. Obviously, a lot of the time from the UK, we're kind of making fun of the price that it costs, but they do have a lot of cutting edge stuff that's done in America. A lot of medical breakthroughs happen in the US because of the money that they can go and make there. Can you see the benefits of being able to fly our injury-prone players over to the US and get them a couple of body scans and things? You could spin a body scan into little characters as well, and release little hamstring Funko Pops, and also you do all sorts.
The potential ceiling is massive, isn't it? Of the game changing aspects is going to bring to the club. And just to sort of touch on what Dylan said there, the whole thing with the hamstring, it's bang on. Like, so if your hamstrings are in sync, then you're knackered. So you've got to think of just maybe cast aspersions to certain players that have played for us and their hamstrings kept going and going. It's wee things like that you think, having the sort of having the ability to actually to reach out to better doctors, better equipment, better technology, better this, better that, how much that is going to improve the club as a whole. So yeah, that's it's frightening how much things could actually potentially change in the club, and you know, when you have better facilities and better treatments and things like that, that'll be more appealing to players to come and sign for you. Do you know, like you're a player signing from a remote country at the moment, and somebody like even from Bulgaria, for instance, and they want, you know, come and then there's a player that's played in this position that's got injured, and these players are out for long times, and they've very, very little in terms of playing time, Rangers' careers. Do you know, that's going to put them off signing for us. You know, as Dylan says, fast forward 10 years' time, we have players who are not getting injured because of the available technology and whatnot. I think it's only going to be a good thing.
Doug, what I will say regarding the American ownership, it's not always going to be. There's a lot of clubs that's had it in the UK and other places who have not enjoyed the American ownership. I mean, you've Liverpool never, United never. Sunderland, I think, had somebody at one point, didn't enjoy it. But I was, at the time, I worked at Barnsley, okay, and they brought in American owners, and Billy Bean was involved. With Billy Bean's original for baseball, right, done all the stat stuff. He came in very stats driven. The whole club didn't enjoy it because it was everything had to be done in the American way. And it turned so much of the staff off. Players weren't interested. Manager was getting told by Billy Bean, etc., who to buy, who to pick, who to play. And it went pear-shaped very, very quickly. Now, I'm not involved with Barnes anymore. They sold their shares and moved out. So I'm not busting everybody's bubble. But for every good thing you're thinking, it can be the other side of that line as well. Do you know that way? So I think we're going to have to be careful. Listen, like I said earlier, we need to invest, we need new owners, but also sometimes when somebody comes in, especially Americans, they don't just come in to be your mate, they come in to take over.
Well, that was you've hit the nail on exactly what I was going to ask you there, which was about the other side of the coin. I am on the fence about it because I do think it's very exciting, but I'm wary because American ownership tends to be very, like you say, driven towards the return on investment. A lot of American owners like the idea of owning European football entities because they tend to be loss. They often tend to be, I was going to say loss making, but well, no, I suppose that works. Loss making entities, and they're able to deduct those losses from their American businesses, which saves some tax back home. And then there's also just there's that concern, I think, that strikes again at the heart of some of the stuff I talked about on last Friday's pod about, the UK and Europe in particular. We are very, very traditional, generally speaking, about our football and how we approach our football, whereas Americans are very much not. We saw what happened, obviously, to Wimbledon, where the guy was just like, I'm just going to up and move to someone else. We were talking in the chat earlier on today about the Red Bull clubs. When Salzburg got taken over, they literally put out something that said, this is a new club that has no history. So, that's the sort of maybe the nightmare side of the coin as well. So something to think about. But I was going to ask you if that's something you generally worry about, but you kind of touched on, you've experienced it a little. Do you think it's something we need to worry about, or do you think we'd still have enough in terms of people in the club? Or do you think the people who are currently running the club have enough about them to sort of protect that aspect?
Is this for me or for anybody?
For yourself, Scott, yeah.
I think it just depends what their ideas is to come. I mean, I know English football's slightly different because there's a lot more money earned down there, especially in the Premier League. But I can only talk for the time I was at Barnsley, and the people, the fans, didn't enjoy it. Don't get me wrong, they done quite a lot of stuff for the club, but they didn't do a lot for the area or the environment. They kind of, nobody was going into the club happy when they were going into work and stuff like that, and it wasn't a great morale time to work. I think Paul Higginbottom was manager at the time, and he's at Preston now, but at the time it wasn't great getting in there at times because the owners were they had their bit of the building and everybody else had their bit of the building. It wasn't like everybody worked together. So I'm just talking from my own experience in Barnsley and Championship and down to League One at that time. So it's totally different for up here and totally different for the Premiership. But But you've seen it at Man United where they've got billions of pounds worth of debt. You've seen it at Liverpool where I think it was Gillette and Hicks, the fans wanted him out quite quickly after they took over. So it can go both ways. I would welcome it, but I think you have to do their due diligence. But obviously, they're going to, what they promise you doesn't mean they deliver. And you said they can't move you because the American owners, it's a franchise. You've seen it. I'm into my basketball, ice hockey, and American football. So franchises, I mean, a lot of teams that's been in the past have now moved to a different state, get different names. Look at the Raiders. Many places have they played the American football team. So it's a franchise to the owners there. They don't care about where you come from, it's just where they can grace and move you to get somewhere better, bigger crowds here, bigger this. So I'm just talking for that side of it, but it's just my own personal opinion. It's nobody else's.
Okay, so as I say, we've plenty to talk about this evening, so we're going to pop on from the consortium news. We'll definitely be talking about it more on the channel as that news develops, and if there's more news coming along. So if that's something you're interested in hearing, then do, as I say, give us a like and give us a subscribe to make sure that you get notifications of all our stuff. If you click the wee bell icon that's beside the subscription button as well, that will give you the opportunity to be notified whenever the journal puts up a new video. And as I say, we will be talking about that as it progresses. But the other big news today was the release of the video from the Rangers media channels of our CEO Patrick Strewart. He did an interview with the sort of the club's RTV set up. I covered a number of topics that we're going to sort of touch on from the video. So just as a quick summary, just in case anyone hasn't seen the video, though I'm sure the majority of you will have. We're going to touch on today the club finally officially sort of addressed the cup exit. They go on to talk about Philippe Clement's position and sort of the ethos and decision making that's going on around about that. He reiterated that those decisions are not being based on the idea of saving money or that we can't afford to make that decision. He's categorically said it before, and he reiterated that fact. He talked a lot about making progress with communications and the promises he'd made about that, and then touched on the review that's been ongoing. And we'll go through the sort of points he made there. So the first point I want to touch on then, Dylan, is he sort of addressed the cup exit. So his words were, he called it disastrous and a source of shame for the club. Obviously touched on the fact it's the first time we'd ever gone out to a lower league opposition. Obviously, there's nothing that can sort of make up for that. What's done is done. But were you happy to see him sort of front up and comment on it and I think kind of and talk about it in the gravity that the fans are feeling it?
I was happy at how bluntly the question was asked towards him. I think the interview, they probably done a really good job. He asked it like a fan would ask, like me or you were sitting down with him. And I like that he's come out and spoke about it and no stepped round the question and said it's not good enough. Like outlined it saying it's the worst we've had. But then to combat it, he went on to say, but we have to give Clement and the team great credit for getting to Europa. And for me, it just doesn't sit well. And I know that, and he said in an interview that he's not there to do the popular choice, but I don't know. I'd have liked him just not to mention that part because it was like he was trying to grab onto, and nobody wants to hear that. We want to hear what you're going to do about it, what was said about it afterwards, and how the manager, how you're going to react towards the manager with it. So I don't want to hear that. But we need to give him credit because he got to the last 16 Europe. I don't care about it, but part of me is like, and what? Do you know what I mean? We're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about what's gone wrong, and I want to know your reasons behind that. So I was glad he was asked the question so bluntly, but I don't think that, and he did answer it. He said it wasn't good enough, acknowledged it, I should say, but I would like for him not to sort of try and weigh the scale and keep it level, if that makes sense.
Okay, and yourself, you know, in addition to what you thought about those initial comments, like Dylan said there, he then goes on and starts to talk about the manager's position. He's asked, obviously quite openly, whether the manager's position was considered, and he starts to talk about that as well. What did you make about, as I say, first of all, what he said about the cup exit, and then if you want to sort of take us into the next bit and give us your thoughts on what he said about the manager's position and why he's still in place.
And why what? Sorry, I missed that last bit. And
why the manager's still in his position.
So unlike Dylan, I couldn't give a toss about Europe. I genuinely couldn't. Right, so that's exactly how I couldn't care. Like, we're winning the last 16 trophy. Get that crap in the bin. He basically contradicts himself, and that really cheesed me off. I'm saying the word. I don't normally use the word cheese, but I'm not going to swear. That he's basically came and said, you know, right, 10 days after. Let's be honest, right? Which is something that's, as he's just said, it's the worst result in our history. But he's waited 10 days to come out and tell us what they thought of it. So basically, he's then went on and said about Europe because he's trying to cover his own back because he's still in a job, whereas he shouldn't be in a job, and every Rangers fan believes that. So he just came and said he's Europe, and then so on and so forth, what Dylan had said. So as soon as he'd said that, my back was up, and I was like, I'm not going to actually objectively listen to the rest of this interview, which I probably should have done before I came on the pod with a clearer head. But however, the truth is, he didn't really say anything, I don't think, that any of us weren't expecting. It's all, I guess, loads of people have said it's PR for the season ticket renewals, which is true. It's like, look, we've been knocked out of Europe, but we're giving you European nights type thing, isn't it? So, get your season ticket. So, I just think that it's he's not really started off great for himself, because the fact that Clement is still in a job, and he's saying all these, you know, all these things, sound bites, so on and so forth, that is going to be appealing to a lot of fans. But we've all been shafted so much by, you know, previous boards, previous, you know, CEOs and things like that, that we're all just massively pessimistic about him now. So time will tell if he's the real deal, and if, you know, if Clement does then get the root to it after our European campaign ends, then you I guess you can turn and say, well, they obviously didn't want to make a change because they wanted to try and earn as much money as possible from our European exploits, which you can understand from a business point of view, that bringing another manager in, we may not actually, you know, get past the next round. Whereas Clement in, he's got us playing well in Europe, and as he alluded to the fact that, you know, our group, 4 of the teams finished in the top 4 of the Europa League, so a tough group and all the rest of it. So, however, I don't think there's any credit due to Clement. He gets zero credit as far as I'm concerned, but you understand it from a business point of view as to why, I guess, he's maybe not sacked him.
Look, and come to yourself, Scott, on the back of sort of what the guys have said there. One of the things that I obviously sort of did after watching the video was, you know, have a look around social media to see what you know, various Rangers sources were saying about it, and I found a lot of the headlines that people were going with was that the club had backed the man, or was backing the manager. That was the specific phrase being used. I personally took this complete opposite from that interview, that Clement is there on a knife edge and on a string, and it's only Europe that has basically kept him in a job, alongside the fact that there's so many other things going on at the club. So he talked about, he used to sort of the metaphor of fixing the house from the roof, rather than from the foundations. So I kind of got the opinion that, you know, they've kind of looked at it and went, well, we've got this broad plan, we're going to just stick with the broader plan, because we don't think that sacking the manager right now is really going to move the needle hugely in either direction. And so we might as well just leave him there to do the one thing that we've got left, which happens to be the one thing he's been good at. And that was kind of how I left it, as opposed to, as I say, a lot of people who have been going out and saying, oh, he's back to the manager. I didn't really feel that way. What about yourself?
No, I never. I thought, same as you, I thought he's only there because of Europe, but many games are left, 12. I think we're going to finish second. We're not going to win the league. We know that. We're going to finish second. There's no cups to be winning domestically wise. And Europe's the only thing we've got left. So I don't see him being in the summer. And I would get rid of him tomorrow if it was me. But I think they've just looked at it and said, let him take the rest of the European campaign. If it's 2 games, more than that, hopefully. And then we'll see from there. I think bringing new manager in just now, while there's so much going on behind the scenes, this takeover Timmy's been muted. Maybe a few other different reviews still going on. So I think, and maybe the person they want to get is not available at this moment in time. You just don't know, because they're going to have names in mind, obviously. So I think it's probably just leave him there until the summer to see how it goes. That's personally what I think. I think if he's still there next season, then it could be, the fans could maybe have more things to say and it could be slightly different. But I think it's just a case of 12 games in the league, European games. There's no point in rocking the boat just now and getting another manager and having to pay compensation and stuff like that. We'll wait until the summer to do this.
Put another wee quick poll into the chat there, and it was 64%. I asked them, were they happy with what was said about the manager? So 64% said no. So not quite mixed feelings, it seems, amongst the fan base there. Dylan, at one point he talked about he's not here to make a popular decision, and he's not here to just get quick wins. So I think obviously alluding to the fact that the popular decision would be to obviously sack Clement right now. Do you think that, I think, if I'm sort of taking devil's advocate, there's 2 ways you can look at it. Either he's just making excuses for not making the decision, or he has shown himself that he'll be a CEO that will take the flak and stand up during the difficult periods and make difficult decisions, i.e. keep an unpopular manager while they do other things or sort out other stuff. Where do you kind of set on that line? Do you think we're seeing the potential of a strong CEO, or is it just pandering?
It's a good question, Doug, to be fair. What I like about the current, what's happening now is it's like all fresh. So you've got your new CEO, your new chairman in, they're looking to get a sporting director in, and then you've got the stale manager. And I would just like to see him cut ties with him and sack him and get a new guy in, so we're all starting fresh. But I took the opposite impression, Doug, to be honest with you. I thought that it more sounded like he knew that the results this season haven't been good enough, but he's willing to stick by him and give him a chance. That's the impression I took for it. I genuinely think that he alluded more to keeping him than sacking him. And I spoke to a couple of my pals, and they interpreted it different. So, just reading that. Yeah, they interpreted it different. So, but I think that if the manager's still in charge come season ticket renewals, I think that will tell you everything you need to know. I don't think he will be. Even if we're still in Europe, I think they'll sack him before the season ticket renewals are out, because, or just as they sort of come out, because I think that there's a lot of fans, and you can put a poll up if you want, that will maybe not renew if he's still in charge going into next season. I don't know if I would. I would to keep the ticket, but I don't know if I would actually go to the games. Do you know what I mean? To go and watch that again. So it's a difficult one. I think on terms of the Patrick Strewart, what you said there is he doing a sort of good job? It's hard to tell now, and I don't think he's coming out and telling us that he's doing a good job. But the fact he's saying, I'm not here to make us happy, basically. I'm not here to make the popular decision. You all want him sacked. I'm not here to sack him. So, and like Dino said, it took like 10 days to come out and put a statement out for that shambles that we saw. So, it's a difficult one to judge. I think I'm on the fence with it. But I like that it's not just the same stuff we've heard are nobody's there, mate. It's a fresh guy. It's no long in the door, a couple of months. He's getting to the nitty-gritty about how the club's being run. He's doing an external review, and he said that he had a lot of work in that as well. It was 100 hours on phone calls to people and stuff like that, so he couldn't do both jobs. So looking at it from that point of view, he's tackling it well, tackling the problems well, I think. But whether he's going to be successful or no is still to be determined, from my point of view, mate.
Do you know, Dylan raised an interesting idea there. If the CEO's sitting there thinking to himself, I'll just keep him in position until season tickets come and then sack him just before that, and I'll get the boost, and that'll help the season tickets. Is that the type of guy you would want running the club? If he, is that a cold and calculating decision, or is that just good business?
There's an argument for both there, Doug, in my opinion. Definitely. And if he's if that's what his game plan is, then I guess he would have to be given the benefit of the doubt, wouldn't you? Now, we all make mistakes in our jobs, and Patrick Strewart could, this last 10 days is maybe going to be one of his first mistakes, and learns from it type thing. Who knows? But I think if, like Dylan said, if he is still in charge when the season ticket renewals come out, there will be a multitude of fans that won't renew. And I don't think the club will be too much bothered about that. And I'll tell you why, because the waiting list is very big. So for the ones that don't want to renew their season tickets, there'll be a younger generation out there that, will think, I can get my season ticket. So, and then I guess people are going to be getting them as well on the optimism that he isn't going to be here from pre-season as well. So that will be in the back of a lot of people's minds, like regardless if he's still here when season ticket renewals come out, is he still going to be in charge the pre-season? Folk are probably going to take that gamble as well if they've got the opportunity to get a season ticket. And as Dylan said, you can still buy your season ticket but not go, to show the club your protest that he's still in charge. So there's loads of mitigating factors there in that. But I think what you're saying about Patrick Stewart and the nitty-gritty and getting down and sorting out the issues that are deep-rooted within our club. So, we've got to give him the benefit of the doubt, because that's something that's needing done. This external review is getting done. So, I think the season tickets is going to be a big one, because there's fans that have even chucked their season ticket already that Clement's still been sacked. So, it's going to be a massive thing for Patrick Stewart anyway, for when that time comes. But I mean, if we lose, draw, whatever, the next few games, I know we've got home games and away games, if we don't do particularly well then, is Clement still going to be in the job then? Irrespective of the European results? I mean, that's fun times, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I come to you on the point there where obviously we're talking about Scott, when it comes to like the season tickets and things like that, communication is going to be a key aspect to that. And he went on to touch on communication and how he felt that's been going. I noticed I thought he was kind of clever in that he made the point that when he last spoke to us, he said he would speak to us in 6 weeks, and it's been about 6 weeks. So he's kind of, I think, trying to signpost that he thinks that he's improving in that area. He talked about the fact that they've been out and spoken to some fan groups, some of the fan clubs, that they've obviously just had a meeting with the fan advisory board, and he's also committed to continuing the CEO forums that we had for a period of time. Obviously not had one in a while, because I haven't had a CEO in a while. So, he sort of starting to talk up a good talk on that. But what have you made of like how he's communicated with the fans so far? And do you think it's showing improvement to what we've had in recent years? On mute there, mate.
I think he has. I think it's a lot better than what we previously had. And I think some of the stuff he said, I mean, he's a CEO, but some of the stuff's like a salesman kind of. They say things because they say things you want to hear. They say things to appease you, but some of the stuff is the truth as well. So I think you just have to be careful how you interpret it. We all interpret things differently. Some of us are saying he talks nonsense. I'm sitting with you, I'm saying some of the things he's saying, I think it's just there because of European games. And I mean, he said that he wants to win trophies, that's what we all want, but it's not happened for a while. So I think if that's the case and he wants to win trophies, I think if the manager's coming in the season, he has to renew in that position. Listen, if American takeover happens, he could be getting Jesse Marsh, so it doesn't really matter. But I think it's just a case of he's going to come out and tell us things we're happy to hear. I know Dino mentioned the season ticket renewal as in waiting list. I don't know if that's as big as everybody imagines. And I don't think a lot of people, because of this climate and stuff, the way money is tight, a lot of people, I don't think a lot of people would seriously jump if a season ticket prices go up as well. I think that's maybe a thing the club came out with a while back and said, there's 10,000 in the waiting list, but I think it might not be as much as that. Listen, I've had this argument before, and I will be renewing mine just for various reasons, but I've had it since the 80s, different stands. I'm now in the Broom Loan, but I go with my two sisters, my niece, my nephew, my brother-in-law, and my son used to come. He doesn't come anymore, so that's the only time I get to see him as well. So it's not just a case of going to see Rangers, it's seeing family, seeing friends that you don't see through a week because you're working and stuff. So it's all different things you go to football for. Football's the main thing, but there's a lot of different branches off that tree that you go for as well. So I'll be renewing mine. If he's still a manager, I'll not be happy. But he'll be away and I'll still have my season ticket. I don't renew my season ticket for any manager or any player. I knew it because it's Rangers. And that's the way I've always looked at it.
Dylan, did you have a point you wanted to come in there?
I've just, David, it's just a question I'm going to pose to you, Steve. Do you think that maybe that's why he's not the bullet yet, in case this takeover's closer than we think, and maybe they want their own guy in?
That's a good question.
I personally think I'm not sacked him because there's not really any point at this moment in time. But
I agree with that too.
Domestically, we're not involved anymore, which is a shambles because domestically is the thing we should be looking for first. Listen, I love a European night, but I want to be challenging for leagues in Scotland and cups, and that's not happening for a while, especially the league. And European's great because it gets you money through the door, it gets you great nights at Ibrox and stuff. But I'm fed up with the league being over at Christmas time or January or February time. It's not great. But I think Canham at the moment probably maybe doesn't work. Maybe if he goes in the summer, it's less money to Canham. Who knows? But like I said earlier, I would sack him tomorrow, but it's not my call. So I think the summer's probably the time they'll do it.
Absolutely. I did put your question into the comments there, Dylan. So based on our chat, it went 60-30 to the nose in terms of who would. I asked, would you renew your season ticket / keep going to games if Clement is still in charge? So 66% said no, 33% said yes. So the no's winning that one slightly. Okay, so we'll push on to the sort of the final main section of the interview, which was talking about the review itself. So the review's around about 6 weeks into the making now. He touched on the fact that they are starting to get tangible, not outcomes, but tangible direction or so ideas of directions that they need to take in order to make changes. He did take a moment to thank and compliment the staff at the club for being sort of open and honest with the people that are doing the interviews. And they asked him a question, and one that I've seen around Twitter as well, why isn't he just doing this himself? Why does he need outside help? And he pointed out, I think, of the valid point that if you're going to do a review of a full institution, that is weeks and hours upon hours of work. And if he's spending his time and his team are spending their time doing that, they're not spending their time running the club day to day. So, we need these people in there who can spend the hours to not just look at the club and interview people and do all that kind of thing, but then also to be looking at other clubs to compare us and then obviously make things too. So I thought that was a valid point to be made. One of the big things that came out of that was that we are going to be looking to appoint a director of football again. As I said sort of earlier on the pod, we're not going to really touch on that right now. We are going to dedicate a pod to the director of football position, what that means for the club, who we think could be good directors of football. So again, do give us a subscribe if you're interested in seeing that. We will be talking about that in another pod coming up. It is a model that we've moved in the past, so we are something we're going back to. So I think the thing that I'd like us to talk about in lieu of that is Niels Coppin's position. So they touched on Niels Coppin, Dylan, and the fact that obviously he will continue in his role as technical director, but he will really be laser focused on the recruitment, squad sort of management in the broader scale, which includes things like the pipeline from youth, making sure we're bringing youth players in, and also that obviously the transfer model is working, and that just that whole sort of system of recruitment from beginning to end and sort of secularly is working to the best that it can be across the youth levels, the women's football club and the men's football club. So does that? I think that sounds like a positive that he'll get back to focusing on that. That's his expertise as the scouting. What was your thoughts?
I think you're right. I think in terms of the internal review, from the cynic in me believes it's now starting to paint a wee picture that they went and got this American company who are involved now are looking at American takeovers, and they maybe try to look at this internal review and try and turn the tide and make it more of a Americanized business model, and then that's why the takeovers are going to come in. Part of me believes that. Part of me believes it's also a coincidence. But like you said there, you can't do both. So, and if you're going to have an internal review, I would rather it was done by some outside source or company that's going to do it. Do you know what I mean? So that can only be a good thing. But on the point in Niels Coppin back in recruitment, I think it can only benefit us. I think it was maybe pulled in different directions there, just in the lead up to this point in time. But player recruitment, player trading model, everything, I think, since he's come in has been better. We've recruited better ages of players, better profile of players. We've started to try and, I think we've seen more of a push in the youth team with Paul and CEO, Zach Lovelace, Finlay Curtis coming in, Bailey Rice coming in, NCR coming in. We've started to see that pathway emerge as well now. And I think it's got to be down to him as well. Do you know what I mean? He's going to be him and the manager, to be fair, because the manager at the end of the day has to say, "Aye, the players can play in my team." But him focusing back on that, I think, is a really, really good positive thing for Rangers Football Club as a whole. Because, like I just said there, if he's also a point I missed there is he's brought in, he's got rid of players that aren't contributing. So like Ravi Matondo, Ben Davies, Scott Wright, etc. They've all went out on loan and they're arguably doing okay. Hopefully we can get money back for these players. So he brought down the wage bill. Part of me believes he's maybe been a big contributor in Hadji getting back into the team as well with that contract situation. Maybe there's been talks here. So we don't really know how much he's been involved, but I think since he's come in, it's definitely been a plus, and him focusing on his area expertise, like I said, is just beneficial for all, mate.
Absolutely. Do in terms of yourself, obviously, if we bring in a director of football, you've got someone there that's going to be dedicated to the footballing infrastructure of the club. With Niels Coppin, you've someone that's going to therefore be dedicated to the sort of the players and the purchasing and things like that. And different managers will probably have different levels of input depending on their preferences. But do you think that's going to set us up well for the future in terms of, obviously, one of the issues we've had in recent times is having to frequently sack managers, and managers we've gone to have had their own priorities and signing wants and styles and things like this. Will this set up, in your opinion, help make these transitions smoother and better for us moving forward?
Oh yeah, that's the end goal, isn't it? I think the sporting director is going to come in and, I think maybe one of the first decisions that sporting director make will be to sack Clement, if I'm being quite honest with you. So, and yeah, basically, just to obviously use it as a comparison, not a great one, but a comparison nonetheless, that Van Bronckhorst was the basically who Ross Wilson had there if Gerrard left. Do you know what I mean? It was, I think that was quite, Ross Wilson had said that was the plan that was in place. So although it wasn't, we have our opinions on Ross Wilson and Van Bronckhorst, but the fact of the matter is I'm using that as a comparison. So I feel expect the sporting director to come in and have, have a manager in place and, have a manager in place that's going to be here for a prolonged period of time, 3-4 years, but also have a contingency plan in place if anything was to happen for a like-for-like coming in. And that's going to be able to implement the same style of football that the sporting director wants and wants Rangers actually to play. So, and given that's, going to be overlooking every facet of the club, from the academy players to the B team, like Dylan had touched on there, the B team players that have made the jump up to first team and things like that. So something that's badly needed. And I mean, what you've got things. Did Ross Wilson be nearly 2 years ago that he left, doesn't it? Memory serves me right. Is that right? Yeah, and never been replaced.
Must be getting towards it, yeah.
Aye. So I mean, that just goes to show you, doesn't it? That we're not running that well. And I think every single top team in Europe has a sporting director or football director or somebody in that ilk in that position. And these football clubs are all run incredibly better than what we are. So yeah. And one thing I won't get to take away from what Patrick Strewart said about taking the time to get the right appointment in. I did actually give a wee bit of reassurance that it's going to be a very well articulated search for the right person, and we can only hope that the person that's going to come in and the style of football that he's going to implement will beat the teams that park the bus for me. So that's what I'm hoping for more than anything.
And yourself, Scott, I had a poll in the chat there asking if fans are happy with Neil Copman's signing so far. 56% said yes, so just over half happy. How have you felt about how Copman's sort of done in his main role thus far? And in terms of thinking about what Dino touched on about the fact they mentioned in the interview that he wouldn't put a time frame on the appointment of the sporting director because they were looking for the right person, and that'll take as long as it takes. Is that encouraging? Or do you think could that be also something that ties into the takeover? Is that again another position that maybe they'll be interested in putting in place themselves?
It may well be, but I don't think we should rush it unless the right man's out there just now. I don't think we should rush it. I think we have to get the right guy in because, and the right person. It could be a female. You just don't know, but you have to get the right person in there because if they get it wrong again, I mean that's worse than getting the manager wrong. I would say. But no, it's good that we're looking to get somebody back involved. I mean, Ross Wilson was there. I wasn't Ross Wilson's biggest fan, but he done what he was asked to. My only thing with Ross Wilson was he didn't look further afield for signings. He was always going back to England, and you're paying 20% premium on these players because you're bringing them up over across the board and stuff like that. And as soon as a job came to move, Ross Wilson jumped ship. So because he was always looking for that exit. But like every club should have a contingency plan, as Dino says, with Van Bronckhorst. If Clement does go, we should have it ourselves. Should be a list of guys there we should be going to interview. But no, it's good to see him bringing somebody else in. I think Copman's forte as he's a scout. He came through that way. He knows talent, especially young talent, and that's what we need to start looking at. I know the academy's changing. That's why we brought back Kevin Thompson. There's not going to be any B-side. It's 18s, then pathways up to first team as in get loaned out and stuff. So he's good at that. He's also organising the female or the ladies team as well, and then youth right down to like I think it's right down to ground level as in fives and stuff. So that's his background, and if he's concentrating on that, I'm happy with that, because asking him to do other stuff was too much for me, but it's too much probably for him as well. So get somebody else who's here to organise everything. And might bring in one or two others, like I said, because you can never have enough people behind the scenes helping out, because it's not just a one-person job, these things. And that's why the review happened as well. I know I was guilty enough to say Patrick Strewart came in and should have an idea, but when you look more into it, you can see it's more than one person that has to look at things, and sometimes you need a pair of fresh eyes. It's the same with the manager. Sometimes the coaches go, new coaches come in, because players do get fed up listening to the same voices every week and training and stuff like that, because they say to themselves, no, this crap again, and they turn off. So maybe that new assistant manager might help, but all we can do is try and build, and the building in the background is a good way to go, because I know Clement is an issue, but taking him away doesn't suddenly make it all great. He's still got a lot of issues behind the scenes, which are probably bigger. So he said all the right things today. I thought, so you just want him getting put into place, but I would take time on the sporting director. I think that's a very important role, and hopefully we can get somebody that we want, but somebody who can fit a criteria and take us forward.
Absolutely, and that's a great point, I think, for us to wrap up on. I'll come back to everyone just if they've got any final points they want to make. He did end the interview on a what you could consider a positive note, or maybe you consider it a worthless soundbite, but he sort of talked about at the very end, obviously, that they want to get back to finding success. And he made the point to say, and I quote, "And by success, I mean winning, not coming second." So, Dylan, on that sort of on that thought, do you feel any more positive today, having gone through this interview than you did yesterday? And do you have any final thoughts you want to leave us with tonight?
I think there's. I'm a little bit positive, but more clarity. There's a wee bit more clarity there on terms of the internal review, how him and the manager dealt with the cup final, the cup exit. So there's a wee bit of clarity there, but would have liked more probably. And I think that we want to win more, but no coming second quote. I think that's just going to be took over side of the city and just laughed at, to be honest with you. I don't think he didn't have to say that. I know he's trying to maybe get fans on his side by saying it, but I don't know. For me, it was just to try and appease us a wee bit, and as a statement of the end of the interview. So I could have maybe done without that. But all in all, I think I'm happy with the clarity showed. I think they're going the right direction. Maybe not there quite yet with it. But all in all, I'm more happy than I was. I should say.
More happy. We'll take that. That's a good start. A good start. Dino, do you have any final thoughts you want to share? And my closing question for you is, if you had to describe that interview in 3 words, what 3 words would you use?
My days, nearly 10 o'clock at night. God, Jesus. 3 words, right. Words fail me here, Doug. You put me totally at the spot. You're on mute. What did you say?
Words fail me. That's 3 words. There you go.
No.
Any closing points you want to make?
No, just I think on the sort of the second place thing. Well, doesn't like we're Rangers. Second place is never going to be good enough. We were founded 150 odd years ago. So we don't need somebody to come out and say that. And as Dylan said, so we're only going to get further laughed at by them across. But didn't need to give them any more ammunition to laugh at us. It's embarrassing. So I was, as I said, I was peeved off with them at the start, and the end saying that, it's just like, aye, okay then, right. But I suppose at the end of the day, you've got to give him the benefit of the doubt, because he's got to come out and say these things, hasn't he? he's got to come out and think that, you know, as fans we've had to accept, well, not accept, but be subjected to second place for so long, and that he obviously, you know, he's the man in charge to change us to get us back to winning again. So you've got to understand why he's got to come out and say that, I guess. But yeah, I guess that's my final thoughts.
Okay, thanks very much for joining us tonight, Dino.
Thank you.
And Scott, any final words from you? And my closing question for you would be, yes or no, do you feel more confident in our CEO today than you did yesterday?
Probably just the same. He's got to come out and say something. Listen, time will tell what happens with the club. Time will tell what happens with rumours and everything else. But we'll still be here no matter what. And I think what he said about winning trophies and things, that didn't bore me, because we've all said it. And it's like, if he doesn't say nothing, he gets criticised. Whatever he says, he gets scrutinised so much. Every word, every sentence, every paragraph. People look for stuff that's not there. He had to come out and say something. And no matter what he says, it's actions on the park will speak louder. So between now and the summer, we'll see what happens. If it's still the same in the summer, then the start of next season, that'll tell us the truth. But like I said, he had to say something today. So I'm happy he says something. Does it make me any more confident? Not really. Am I looking forward to European games? Yes. But is the league a write-off? Yes. So that's all I can really say.
Yeah, thanks very much, Scott, and thanks, Dylan, as well. I think I forgot to say thank you after your bit. So it just remains for me to say thanks to all the guys who are in the chat and who've been contributing. Thanks for joining in on the polls as we've done them as well. Tried to use them a little bit more tonight, see how we can have a bit of fun with them. It's been a pleasure to talk to everyone this evening and go through, as I say, the interview and the potentially exciting news of investment in the club, which is sorely needed. As I've said throughout, if you have enjoyed the chat tonight, you want to hear more, then do hit that like and subscribe button, click the wee bell to get notifications of when we put out more videos. We will have a video coming out shortly about the director of football position. We'll have a look at what that will mean for the club. We'll probably look at some potential candidates for that as well. We'll get our scouting guys on that straight away. And we'll no doubt be talking more about the potential takeover review and everything else as further news comes out on it. So just leaves me to say good night to everyone. Thanks for watching, and every night is a Rangers Journal night. Thanks.